Morning, everybody. Welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live show. And welcome to YouTube if you're watching it at a later date. I thought I would have a bit of a Kerby day. I bought the original ones when they first came out. And of course, like everything else, sometimes they come back and they're a slightly different price. And also, your colouring changes. So for every page I've seen, I probably want to do it in 3 different water-based mediums and 3 different colours and darker shades, lighter shades, bright, pastel. And so occasionally I've actually bought a duplicate set, but I haven't played in Geomorphia. And at 3 o'clock this morning, I bought it thinking I haven't seen that yet, but obviously it's sitting there. So I colour with different water-based mediums depending on how I feel. Sometimes I want to, and it depends on the image as well. And excuse me. So if I want to be really creative and full of energy, I want to mix my own colours and use my watercolours. A lot of the time I'm not well, and that's why I use colouring. And I'm sure I'm not alone. Oh, hi, Marilyn. Welcome to Bunny's Designs. So which book am I going to work in? And what water-based medium am I going to use? Now, I'm a bit of a Derwent. So dear Melody sent these 2 huge, get the camera down a bit, poster size. So where we have our, in that one, but in the original one, we used to have a double-page spread with that horrible seam in the middle. These, they're slightly shorter, but we don't have the seam. So we have a double-page spread. They are slightly shorter. You lose a couple of inches off the end, but you don't have the fold in the middle of the paper. So my favorite of all time is the horse, and this is one of the first pages I ever colored, and it was using 3 tubes of the Cotman watercolors, and there's a lot of and I really enjoyed that, making all my greens from 3 colors. My second favorite, or my other favorite, is the butterfly, and I always wanted to do the other one in the Derwent Graphy Tint. I've done a couple of videos using the Graphy Tint, and I really love them. They are so different. So I've had my eye on using the Derwent Graphy Tint on this page. Oh, let me just sort the flashing doofer out. But looking at the website from Derwent's website, they've brought out some new metallics. Oh, thank you, Marilyn. Thank you. They've brought out some new metallics. Now I have, I don't think they're on this set. No, I do have the Derwent metallics. Let me just turn this off a second. I do have the Derwent metallics. And they're very muted, and they're just barely shiny. Oh, excuse me, guys, I have to have a mouth of tea. Hi, Melody. Welcome to Bunny's Designs. So what I wanted to do was, I'm thinking about, they've said these new metallics are very, very metallic. They're very shiny. So I'm quite tempted to buy the metallic pencils I'm a bit of a Derwent nut, and do the butterfly in these. So today I'm not going to use the butterfly, but I wanted something metallic. And I need to send out another huge thank you for Melody for not only sending me the beautiful books last month, the Tenderfoot and these. Now, the reason I'm not using these today is because I want to use the graphic tint pencils, and these are two kind of the precious drawings that lend themselves to something else. Yes, Melody, yes. I think the Amazon Gremlin might have to get me again. So thank you, Melody, for sending me these beautiful books. But I like them to use with the watercolors and kind of not friendly colors, but pretty colors, pretty colors. And Melody also sent me, I said, these beautiful poster size. And there's something quite nice in working flat. And of course, we don't have themes, so you're not kind of difficulty getting in and out of that horrible crease, which is everybody's nightmare. So thank you, Melody, for these. I love the big pages. I never thought I would, but it's so nice to work on a flat surface. So I've been in trouble buying quite a few watercolors recently, and I was kind of banned for buying things. And I bought some paper, some pastel paper for some pencils to do a portrait. And this was in a box, and my daughter's looking at me saying, "What have you bought now?" And this is a gift from Melody, and it's so gorgeous. I'm going to have to save it a bit, I think. Look what she's got me. Big drum roll. Oh my goodness. The Derwent professional quality light fast pencils. Thank you, Melody. They are so gorgeous. And they're all sitting there in their little box. There's some new colours. Derwent have brought out some new colours. And I had a bit of a play with this. And because I showed it at work, somebody's asked me if I would draw their dog. And that means that I might try to do some pet portraits. And for the first time ever, sell some work, because I've always given my work away. I've never sold it. So it's a very rough, but I was so impressed that I could use these creamy, soft pencils without hurting my hands, because whenever I've used pencils before, a few days later, my hand's been really red. I just want to stroke them. I don't know if anybody else is a bit of a Derwent nut. I just want to look at the colours and stroke them. Thank you, Melody, darling. Thank you. You're very naughty. And it comes in this beautiful bag. So the babies are going to be hidden away there. I did redo my room, and that's why I've been quite poorly, because I tried to move a little bit of, I moved things around in my studio, and although my husband and my daughter did a lot of the work, I ended up in the wheelchair for a week, really poorly. And I haven't been able to do anything because I got my headache back and blah, 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 blah. So I did manage to do a bit of a sketch, which I'm going to, that's at the Art in the Abbey. There's a stained glass window. It might not come up too well. And so I like this size, and I think Alfie's probably a bit too size, but that was, I was poorly on the sofa, and it was a very rough sketch of Alf. And you can see it's really rough on top, and his ears, haven't done anything there. The only thing I've probably done are the eyes. And there's not too much detail in the nose, but as you always know, that Alfie's got wonky eyes. They don't match. So today I wanted to play with these. And again, I don't know if anybody else is the same, but I choose the mood I'm in for what I want to use. So if I don't want to use pastels, or I want to use watercolor, or I want to use pencils, and I also choose the book, the image that I want as well. And I've been dying to use that huge butterfly, but I'm also governed by how I feel and how my hands are. And sometimes that's a bit of a challenge. But when you are ill, you actually want to do something to distract yourself. And I do use this. Now, I must admit, I haven't actually looked at this book since I got it. So my hands are a bit iffy today. So turning pages and holding things is not good. But I do want to work with these Derwent Graphitint, but I want a metal Mickey kind of thing. A metal... I just can't do that today. I'll just see if I can do that. So I'm looking for the metal. Excuse me. I thought I saw one actually. Now I must admit this, the Graphitint. I'll read the colours out. There's 24 colours in this set, and there. If you bear with me 2 seconds, I'll actually go get. Nigel. No, I'll just go get the book and show you what they are, because they are so different, but they are so gorgeous, because they're like a pen with a hint of colour. Oh, that's Bongo. Hi, Bongo. I think there's a couple of videos that I've done with these pencils. I've had a complete room tour move, and I will do a room tour, but not today. So those are the colours, muted, beautiful muted colours of the Graphitint. And there is a video on that. And you use them just like any other Derwent watercolour pencil. Scratch a bit of colour on and then maneuver it, and they melt like into a watercolour, but they're slightly muted. So I did have a bit of a think about, I did find something earlier. But again, I don't know if that's just me, but sometimes I want to do certain things and sometimes I really don't. I really want to just sit very quietly and do something that's not too kind of taxing on the brain, but is kind of, I think I did this one in the Graphitint last time. I found this one. In fact, and there's that one as well, isn't there? I'm tempted. Now that one's in the Phantomorphia. And again, sometimes I've lost my marbles and I bought things nice. So I have 2 Phantomorphia. Now the original ones, because sometimes they come up at £6, I've bought them. This one, because it was single-sided, I did it in the chameleon marker pens. There's a couple of videos of the same book, but I use it differently. I think that one's the one I was doing when I was on the train, so I've actually used that one. So there's this one here. Oh gosh, and again, hands are a bit off today. I put chameleon pens in greys. Oh, that would be quite nice. That would be quite nice. It takes me a while to decide really what I want to do. I think that would be nice in the Graphitint. And the other thing is, sometimes I want to work with a water brush and sometimes I want to work with more. Oh, hi Katrina, well, Bunny's Designs. Anybody else popping in? Let me just see if I can do this. Possibly not. But as I say, I don't know if anybody else is like that, but sometimes I want to work in the Kerbys and sometimes I want to work in something completely different. I suppose you could mix and match them, but I think I'm going to do the graphic bit on this. So the colours, they're quite muted. So there isn't a yellow. There's a meadow colour, which is probably nearest to yellow. So it's like a mucky green. That's the nearest thing. Just put that onto there. So I'll read the colours out. In fact, I'll read the colours out and I'll do a bit of a scribble. I'll do a little bit of a scribble, and you can see that the colours match what they're called. I have the printer in here. I've just moved it. And the reason I moved everything around is I went to the Cotswolds, which is in southern Middle England. Very, very pretty. And it's where Dr. Dolittle, we went to Castle Combe, where Dr. Dolittle was filmed in the 60s, the original Dr. Dolittle film. To pick up an enlarger reducer, which we used in photography when I was at college in the late 70s. And it's like having a new friend back. This is a slightly smaller version, but it's almost as big as a cupboard. It's solid metal, and it was used to put your artwork in. So it means that I can put an image, all my different drawings, I can put them underneath, and I can draw a complete scene. So that's hopefully what I'm going to do. So I will do a room tour, but it has to be a video rather than a thing, because I've got to crawl around things. So if I get rid of this and keep one piece of paper, I've got my desk on a slant, and I've cut the conservatory in half so that I've got a space where nobody can be. Right, so I'm going to pop that just to one side for a minute. And I do have a big light that I could put on, but I don't know if it'll interfere, so we'll see how we go. I think the light might be okay. Is everybody all right? So thanks for joining me, guys. We're going to have some fun. So the first one is number one. It's called Port. So it's a dull red purple. And if you think of port, that's exactly what you get. I just use my watercolor brush. Now I brought these along because, again, this is my touch and go system. So I don't have to mix colors. I can just get the tin out with the brush and sit with a cushion tray, and there's no kind of messing about. So if you see there, it's like a red brown, a purple brown, but it goes to some really, I'll zoom in a bit as well, see if we can zoom in a bit. I haven't tested zoom on this camera, so we'll just have to hope for the best. And I do have a slide ruler. I put the slide ruler back. So very, very muted. The next one is juniper. Now I haven't sharpened these, but so the next one is juniper. So that was number one. This is number two, and I'm working backwards, so that's ridiculous. So this is like a purple grey. Whereas a Payne's grey is a blue grey, this is a purple grey. Then we have aubergine number three. And this is a slightly bluer grey. Now my daughter's asked me to go through the colours and do a colour thing with her now she's finished uni before we start our oil painting. And I'm going to try and make these colours. Number 4 is dark indigo. So of course we know that's going to be a cold blue. And I'm not bothering to clean the brush because I'm taking most of it to nothing anyway. So they're very gorgeous muted one. Number 5 is shadow. And I tend to use this one an awful lot. It's a green grey. Almost a slate, but it's green. Thank you, darling. I haven't drunk that one yet. Could you possibly fill my water up, please? Thank you. Just 2 seconds. Thank you. Just 2 seconds. Just bear with me, guys. I'll be back in a minute. So number 6 was steel blue, and of course it's definitely a beautiful. It's a grey. There's hardly any blue in there at all. That is, it's not even a Payne's grey. It is probably a Payne's grey. It's a cool grey. And number 7 is. Sorry, I've got a cup of tea in one hand. Hubby's brought me another one. I haven't drunk the first one. Ocean blue, number 7. So I'll be in trouble. So number 7 is like a turquoise grey, and they're called graphy tints. So if you can imagine a tinted pencil, that's exactly what they are, but they melt. You see, there's no pencil lines. That pencil line will completely disappear. And you've got about 10 tones in each pencil. So although there's only 24 in the set, you've got 240. Actually, I've just realised a big mistake. I am sure the new pencils from Derwent are not water soluble. I just have to check that. This one is slate green, number 8. So I may have trouble with those, but we'll see. So again, obviously, this is a green. So it's a beautiful grey green, is that? So that would be like for stones on a very rocky puddle. So that's number 8. Number 9 is green grey. And I would say that's an olive. I would say that's definitely about an olive colour. Yeah, it's a dark, dull grey olive, but beautiful for leaves. Excuse me. The next one is meadow, and because of the nature, if you put yellow to black, you're going to get a green. So we don't have a yellow. So number 10 is meadow, but it's the nearest thing to a dull, almost like a Chinese green. So it's just a crossover. It's a very pale green, but it's the nearest to yellow you're going to get because of the nature of the graphite. You're never ever going to get a yellow. But I use that for highlights for the greens. Then we have a number 11, which is ivy. And of course, with every pencil, which I might actually use these because I was going to show you a different way to use the pencils. So if you watered this down, it's a slightly darker shade, but then it's richer at its strongest. And I do need a baby wipe. Anybody got any questions? If you've got any questions, pop them in caps. I'm just going to stick this baby wipe here. If I drop it under that, oops, no, that's no good because it makes the laptop wobble. That's no good. I don't know why the laptop's moving. It never moved before. It's because I'm going to wet it, that's all. So that was number 11. Number 12 is Sage. So we're still in the... Well, I cannot believe I've made that slip. Sorry, guys. I'm losing the laptop now. Oopsie. So, again, that's an olive brown, I would call that. Even a bronze, possibly. But if you take it to its palest, you've got some beautiful tones there. The next one is chestnut. Oh, so I beg your pardon. The next one isn't. Sorry, that was number 12. Number 13 is chestnut. So you're getting a hint of what the colours are, but they're muted because they've obviously got the graphite pencil in there. No, I've really upset that laptop. Death by laptop. But again, that would be good for a fox or a brick red. And then we've got number 14, russet. And they're very creamy. I'm not pressing on very hard to get colour. And again, we've got tones of probably a sienna. That's very much like a sienna. And then we have a cool brown. Number 15 is cool brown. So this is like an umber. So you can actually see the colours in here a little bit. Number 16 is cocoa. Anything that has chocolate or cocoa in it is all right by me. And the Derwent, going back to the Derwent Light Fast, there's a pencil colour called Heather. There's a pencil colour called Chocolate. And there's a pencil colour called Merlot. I mean, what else do we need? Autumn Brown is number 17. So we've got quite a lot of browns. So if we're doing leaves, oh, that's what, sorry, yes, Autumn Brown is the redder of all of them. This is what I would use for red. So that's my yellow and that's my red. 18 is Storm. So you can see these colours are so different, but they lend themselves to Kerby's metallic drawings. Warm grey is number 19, and I'm going to have to sharpen some of these. Again, they're very, very soft. So this is like a very muted, warmish, purple grey. It's probably a cool grey, actually. But that would be a lovely shadow if you were combining it with the Derwent watercolour pencils, which I might do at a later date. Number 20 is Midnight Black. So anything you can do with these pencils, you can do with any other Derwent. You see, look at that. There is not one pencil line in there at all. It's completely gone. 21 is Mountain Grey. I just put that there. Excuse me, I'll put that there. And that's a little bit warmer, slightly warmer grey. And I do like warm greys. 22 is Cloud Grey. And this is more like a silver. This is very much like a silver. And then we have 23 Cool Grey. Again, we've gone down to our dark greys. There's just a hint of blue there, just a touch of blue. So it's a very cool, gorgeous, cool grey. And 24 is white, so I'm not sure if that'll show up, but we'll do it anyway. And I'll put black next to it so I can show you that it's definitely there. Oops. Laptop's sliding. So we get the white. And again, the white you could mix with all the colours. So we've got, and again, that's a completely different grey by mixing half black and half white. Oh, hi, May. Welcome to Wednesday Dines. Hi, Marilyn. Anybody else I missed? You got my water, darling? Thank you. I'll have to keep drinking, guys, because I've got my bad breathing thing again, which is a bit yuck. And I've come out in these blooming awful things. I don't know if it's like a little blood thing. Alfie caught me the other day, but these are like, they're like little, I don't know, they're under the skin. I'm not impressed with that because I don't like having things like that. It's a sign of getting old, I presume. Right, so those are the gorgeous, gorgeous colours. So as I've got this laptop slowly sliding further towards me. It hasn't moved for 5 days, and now I'm live. It's moving. It's very strange. So that's the full set of 24. But of course, we've got 10 shades, tones, from the lightest water to the least water. So that's 240. We can then put white. So that's another 24. But we can also mix every colour with every colour. So that's 24 by 24, and then times it by 10 because you've got 10 tones, and you've got thousands of colours. So you don't have to stick to just these colours. But again, sometimes when you're not well, all you want to do is scratch a little bit of colour. So before we start this, and I think I'm going to do this one in it, I'll do a bit of a drawing. If I can find a pencil. I found a pencil. Selby High School. So if I just draw, I hope we can see everything. Is everything focused? Hopefully we're all focused, are we? Hopefully. If I draw, I draw my stylized leaf that I did, my stylized holly leaf. And I'll do, I normally do 5 berries. Actually, that's a bit big, guys. Always love to have photocopy paper. I do 5 berries. Oh, see, it's quite a nice pencil. 5. 5 would do. And then this is my doodle for my mushroom, which I'm doing better now because I've been and I have a workspace to make my paints. I have a workspace to do filming, and I also have a space at the other side for filming, for unboxing. So I've got 3 desks, so I'm so excited. I've used I have had like a chopping block. It's from IKEA. It's a chopping block trolley, and it has a very thick top, and a friend's given me some glass, and because it's a chopping block height, it's quite comfortable to do the paints, but Amy's going to do them for me. And then that means I can make my own paints. So we've got a bit of a colour chart here, so I'll leave that there so we can see. I move that up slightly. You can see the drawing, and we can see that. I hope it's not blurred. Oh, okay, guys. Anybody's got any questions? Pop them in caps, guys, because the laptops, I've pushed it a little bit further away. It's right up there, and I just can't see chat particularly well. So if you pop it in caps, it'll catch my eye, and then I can squint. So we've got a colour guide here. So we've got the berries, and we've only got really one ready colour. An 18 would be maybe a shadow. But I've just thought maybe I'll have to do a highlight. I've never done this before, guys, so bear with me. So let's just put this on here. I've never done this before, so we'll just play. So a little tiny pinhead maybe of white. And then I said that number 17, Autumn Brown, is a red berry. So if you wanted a blackberry, we've got number 3 and we've got 18. But I think I'm going to go with 17. So we want more of a holly red. And I think I need to sharpen this pencil. Although, yeah. So I use, on all my pencils, because I'm a bit of a tight Yorkshire lass, I use this comb. Sorry, not cleaned it. Shouldn't do that really. This, how would it show up? It's a comb, a K-U-M. See if I can just catch that shadow. It's an automatic long point and it has 2 holes. And I use the first hole most of the time, and it's not too bad actually. And what it does, it takes the wood off, but it doesn't sharpen the pencil. There is a sharp edge on that pencil anyway, so I don't waste my pencil because I'm a tight Yorkshire lass. So I do have quite a lot of control there. So and if we really wanted to, we possibly could. I will use this on a colouring, having a play, because I'm a bit precious with my Kerbys. I like to know I'm not going to make a mess of it. So this is just a little practice. So I've used the ruby, which the Autumn Brown, number 17, and now I need a little bit of a shadow, but I want a warm shadow. So that's too purple because we've gone red. Now number 1 is port. See how dark we can get the port. Just put that there. It's always a good idea to play. Oh, that look, it's a purple, but it might just give a bit of a shadow. Thank you, Nigel. Poor hubby's poorly because he's been moving all my furniture for me. So I've basically cut the conservatory in half, and I'll do a quick room tour in a few minutes when I finish this. So you want to clean. Now this is when we do need a clean brush, because we're going to start with the white and manipulate it round. Now I'm using a water brush on photocopy paper, so we can't expect too much. And then if you ever want to do this, you have to clean the brush when you've gone to your darks. As you see, that's just melting lovely. Now if you haven't got the Derwent number 1 water brush, is the only brush I use for colour books, because it just releases. If you just activate the tip like I'm doing, you get the right amount. And again, we're not going to expect much because we're on thin photocopy paper, but we've got that red and then we've just got that bit of a shadow underneath. And then we've got, I don't know what tipped up then. Now I'll do the same with an ordinary brush in a second. So if we want a different shadow, we want a warmish shadow, don't we? What's the warmest? We could do what we do with the Derwent watercolour pencils, is touch the end. Now I wouldn't do that because it splashes, but I'm doing it so you can see me actually picking the colour up. You see how strong that is? And then in there. And this is quite a big brush actually for that small drawing, but so again, they melt. The pigment and the binder is just the same. Well, the binder is the same. Just see if I can wind the camera down a little bit more. I've actually got my camera attached to the ceiling. I say ceiling in a very loose term. No, it's the lowest it can be there. I might have to do a bungee jump thing. Oops. I'm back on concrete. But you can see we've got a little bit of a highlight going on. So we can use that other rule of 3 of using a light, a dark, and a medium. But the other way I like to use them is number 11 is what I use for a leaf, ivy. Now this is holly, but never mind. So I'm going to put the colour in the middle. Now, if I wanted to, I could kind of put that there. And then let's have a look. So we activate this one first. And we're only activating the tip because otherwise we're going to get tons of water. And I'm on photocopy paper. So we'll do all the light one first. But you can see, even on photocopy paper, I'm not scrubbing and all that colour is melting. So you can get some gorgeous colour. And if you want to use that green, because it's a green, which is complementary to the red, you can then use that to just tie that in and give those a shadow. So they're really lovely to work with. The other thing we can do is, I have to ask hubby for some water in a second. The other way to do it is put just a little bit of colour in the middle, and then this is how I usually work, touch and go, and then we manipulate that and push it, and we have a natural highlight. You can't scrub too much on paper, but we can do it that way. So there's all sorts of different ways you could do it, and you also could do it if this was like if I just put that there, and meadow green, and the bluest one is number 4, dark indigo, and you can even put complementary colour, a bit of the red in there. So we've got this green, but we can mix a bit of that blue in it. And then we've got a different colour, but look how gorgeous. It's just like a beautiful watercolour. There's no pencil marks, and it blends together. So again, that's when you can show you've got hundreds, if you want a darker one, hundreds and hundreds of colours, even though we've only got 24. Because we can mix each of those greens with the greys and get lots of other colours. So we've got lots to play with, and because, as I say, they just melt. So we put the red into the green as well. We've got a kind of a brown, if the leaf was turning. Now I would use this on watercolour paper. I wouldn't use it on photocopy paper, but I'm just showing you as a paper palette. Now I will be using a paper palette in a minute, but the possibilities are endless. You can then go back in and you can put a bit of dark into that one if you wanted, and you can use them as a beautiful watercolour. And they're so underrated because the colours are gorgeous. They're just not in-your-face pinks. And I'm sometimes, most of the time, I'm not an in-your-face pink girl. But when you do a whole page with them, so I need to keep my reference colours, but that's all the different colours, and you can mix, and you see how they blend. So you can blend on the paper, or you can blend and use it as a paper palette. But because the binder is so gorgeous, it just makes them melt. So have you got any questions? So I think, I wonder if everybody can see that there. I need a kind of a ruler, something just above there. Might work. Oh, mind you, having said that, I've moved the camera, haven't I? Need to make sure that the light's okay. Just put that across a bit. We've got a cloudy day. I've got all my canvases against the window to keep the light out. So we'll see how we're doing there. So we've got some birds, we've got some leaves, we've got some flowers. Not sure if I want to use proper paintbrushes or wait a second. The one thing we can't use I don't have the brushes with me actually. It does go to a point, this one, but some of them I've used quite a lot now. The only system with this is it's so nice when you're not well because you don't have to keep rinsing the brush out. I wanted to build some quite nice tones there. Have we got any questions? So how I normally tackle a Kerby Rosane, I'm a bit of a chicken. And to avoid mistakes, I normally pick out all the flora and fauna, all the flowers, all the leaves. And then I leave the petals because I then have to pick which petal it's fallen from, which flower. So there's a dragonfly there. I think there's a butterfly, if I remember. There's another dragonfly. So I think I'll do all the flowers first and then all the leaves. I'll do the leaves first. And there's 1, 2, there's 2 types of of leaves. That one's the same as that one. That's slightly different, that one. That's the same as that one, maybe. Yeah, that's like the acorn one. So that's like the acorn. And that's slightly different, that one. So that might be the pale green. Sometimes I think, especially if I've only got 2 or 3 greens. But what I will do with this is I'm going to use a little mini. That's a bit too precious. You can buy these. I bought quite a few. This is actually quite a nice one, this one, the postcard one. I've not got another one. I've got some cheaper Wilco's ones that were cheaper. This is what I used with, this is extra wet sketchbook paper, and this is what I use my little book from. And my Derwent pencils are in my little book of watercolours. and they react absolutely beautifully. So we scratch on here all the squares, and then you touch the squares to take off. But I'm doing this slightly different. I'm using this as a palette, so I'll be mixing colours on here, whereas normally you don't mix, you just touch and go. So I need to mix some colours today. So I've seen the green that I like. And again, I've got this little thing here as a reference as well. So it's good to have things done to remind you what's what, because I don't like to make too many mistakes when it's a nice book. I like to make a decent job. Got to be comfortable. I'm left-handed, so my little wipe wants to be on the left. But you mustn't touch your books with this baby paw or any kind of damp, because it'll soak into your paper. You have to keep it well away from everything else, but handy so that you can use it. So I kind of like that long one. I might do that olivey green. So number 10, that can be a pale one. So we've got number 10, Meadow, and I'm going to put white to it and see what happens. I've not done this before. So we've got, and again, you can write the number down as a reference, number 10. And then we've got 24, which is white. So I'm not going to bother writing that one down. And then I'm going to use the Autumn Brown, which is my nearest red, because I'm going to use a complementary colour for the shadow. Let's scratch a little bit more on there. And I've left them sticking out so I know which 3 I'm using. So let's just take a little bit of this and just have a bit of a play, just to give an idea. Oh, that's a beautiful russet colour, that, to give a shadow. That's darker. And that's lighter. So I've got quite a few little colours there. And I am using, normally things wouldn't work like this, but I'm using the paper palette. I'm using the Derwent brush. Normally you have more control. So I'm just going to give that. I don't really like what's happening there. I don't think I like that. I don't think so. It seems to have a shadow down there. See, the other thing we can't do is keep adding water, because it's not. It's a different way to work this. I don't normally work this way, but just pick up a little bit of that red. And you can make quite a deep stem. Now, once this is dried, you can go back over it and the next day, and you can play. But I tend not to play when I think it's so I've got a little bit of variation there. So if you wanted to, you could do all the pale first and then go back in a bit later. Got a little bit of variation there, just a little bit, but a colour that is not anywhere else because it's a mixture of the three. So this is the same. So, and I am using them a lot stronger than I normally would. So if we scratched on there, it would be too wet, so we have to scratch next to it. Of course, if we let this dry, the paper palettes that I used to use, you can go back in. So you can be fairly precise with this Derwent brush. It's not a... And then if you wanted to just have a bit of... Just do that in there. There's no fine lines on this one, so it's not too bad. Oh, thank you, Melody. Yes, I do. They're very underrated of these pencils, especially for colour books, because you know we can all do all sorts of different things, but this is very different, and sometimes it's so nice, especially with metal, to get a kind of metallic kind of thing going. So on this side, let's see if now it's quite flat and boring now because I've used it from here. I haven't mixed it with that red to give a more variegated kind of. Again, you just play with the paper palette as you want. Again, you've got to scrub too much with this paper palette, but you can get some really nice effects with and the other thing is they go a long way, so we're not wasting anything. If you're doing a pencil, you've got to sharpen your pencil and waste things. And again, tight Yorkshire lass, I don't like to do that. I really don't like to do that. So that's what I meant about the mixing the two colours together. You can mix hundreds and hundreds of shades and tones, and again we've got that crease here, so we just kind of just to make it look a bit. And these aren't the full strength. Pick up a bit more green. And again, it's an easy way to work, even though you're not feeling particularly well. There's not too much strain going on. You can See, I've got a little bit of difference going on. And like every Kerby, you have to go at your own pace, pick things out and just kind of grab them. So I want any more long ones. So just to make sure I don't forget, I'm just going to put number 17 on there. And I know which leaf that is because I have a terrible memory. And Kerby is wonderful for hiding things that you find after you've finished everything. So that's a different one, isn't it? Yeah, that's a different one. And stems I kind of do last as well, but now that's a very pretty flower. So when we think of flowers, if we look back on our page here, we've got to do a bit of planning because we don't have reds, yellows, oranges, pinks, purples. We've got a purple, we've got a red, and we kind of have a turquoisey blue for a bluebell. So number 7's got to be the bluebell. So as soon as it's here, I'll clean the brush. As soon as it's here, we'll use number 7, ocean blue. It's the bluest blue I've got, and I've just scratched that. I could put a little bit of white to lighten it, but I've not been doing that because I use a lot of water. And what do we want as a contrast? We need a blue-grey. I think the best one is 23 because I haven't got an orange. Unless I put, no, number 13 might work. Chestnut is the orangiest I've got. And of course the complementary colour. So we can try that one and then put that to it and see what we get. Oh, we've got a beautiful shadow for there. So sometimes you just have to try. So a clean brush, a touch of the blue. So the bluebell, we need light at the top and then darkish. And of course, they're not that beautiful bluebell colour. Get back to the slate blue again. Sorry, ocean blue. And so we need a bit more glue on that one. So I'm just giving them a bit of difference. I did make that a little bit too wet really, so just have to be a bit careful. I don't think we have any more bluebells. Normally we'd have 2 lots of bluebells. Can't see any more bluebells. Just a bit of so now we have that flower is different to that one. And again, I've got a yellow and I've got a purple blue and I've got a dark indigo, number 4. Number 3 is aubergine, so that's a purple one. So we need a purple flower, so that could be this one. Because the other thing you could do is like the Derwent watercolor pencil, is scratch color in and then manipulate it if you didn't want to use the paper palette. I'm just going to try and mix it, because I said with the Derwent watercolor pencils the other week, the last video, that you can use the watercolors with, you know, on a paper palette, so you can use the Derwent watercolor pencils in this way as well. And that's why I love it. And the ink tens, anything that's water-based pencil, you can mix like this. So I've got this blue. I think I like those to be red. I'll do the red ones first because there's more of those. So the red I've got is autumn brown, number 17. And the greenish green, I think, is number 11. And that's for a shadow. So this is the pure red. So we'll do these. I'll do this purple. I think some of the flowers look the same as some don't. So that's a different one. That's a different one. I always get confused. I think I'll do these. And they will move again, so you know you're not stuck with them. They will move. Possibly a finer paintbrush might have been slightly better. Got to remember not to put too much on there. So I think that one becomes one of those. So I think that's what they are. And then got some natural highlights. So we get a little bit of tonal value there. So that's that one. And I think that flower would be the same. And by swapping from one to the other, you can get nice shadows. And I've worked quite thick here, so you can work as pale as you want. And of course, the other way you can do it is scratch the colour on. So we can have, I've got a real deep one here. We can scratch the colour on, just like we do with the Derwents. And it was number 11, wasn't it? Yeah. Put number 11 in there. So this clean brush, and push that colour up. And then manipulate that colour down. And you've got your shadow colour. So that will be a lot stronger because it's directly on. So again, I think that one's, I hate this when I do these because they're sometimes different flowers. Is that flower that one? No, they're slightly different. I'm going to do this one next. Oh, that's the same. So we've got this colour here. And then we've got a bit of the so we can pick out some quite nice contrasts if we want. I think with the other video I didn't mess about so much. I just used my colours from the paper palette. So I didn't mix colours, but I wanted to show that you could if you wanted. So now I need a different colour for that flower. Now we do have a blue. I think it's further away from that one. So number 5, no, number 7. Oh, number 5 is quite nice. Number 7. You are a bit challenged because of ocean blue. That's a blue. So the other way to do it is to just do it this way. So where we've got, where it's indicated there is a shadow, we put the colour. And again, this method can be used for somebody else. So it's touch and go, what I call touch and go. You can scribble it, all the colour like this, and then just take your brush with you and leave the pencils at home, and then you can colour, or you can give it to somebody else. So you could scratch a little bit of colour in. If it was for a child or somebody that can't hold a pencil, but they can hold a water brush, you can put the colours in. Of course, the disadvantage is you've chosen the colours. But if they just want to activate it with a brush, sometimes that's quite nice. You just need to just create. So that's just using one colour, and I've got lots of tones. It's a lot easier than this one. I think that's the same. So again, depending on how you feel, this is a real easy way to work. And of course, Kerby's brilliant because he's done all the work for you by cross-hatching and hatching all the colours. So we know where it's the darkest and we know where it's the palest. So this is the easiest way to do it, is just to scratch a bit of colour. There's no paper palette. You've just got you and the pencil and the book and a Derwent water brush. In fact, I think I prefer that way. It was nice to mix these colours. And I mix them because we've only got a certain amount of colours for the greenery. So I think that's the same. So again, and I haven't got a sharp point, but these are very creamy. They're very forgiving. They're just like little, they're very, very soft and very creamy. Like the Derwent watercolour pencils, you just touch a little bit and you get some beautiful colour. You don't have to scrub. You can use these as a watercolour as well. Sorry, as a pencil if you wanted. You could just scratch the colour as a pencil if you really wanted to do that. What else have we got? I think those might even be the same. Then that's different. And there's no need to clean the brush because just, this is the easiest way to work. And again, sometimes you have to choose the easiest way. But even if you poorly, this, you can just gently do this. You'd work a lot slower than me, but just gently do it. It's not a race. I think that is, and that one, and this one as well. So here, because I want the highlight under the curled over flower, I do most of this. And then what's left on the brush is the highlight. Oh, missed one. So they're really beautiful muted colours. Oh, thank you, Melody. Thank you. Anybody else got any questions? Thanks for popping by. Anybody I've missed? If you say hi, I might be able to see you. So this is kind of the easiest way to work. Now that one looks like the red. So what I was going to do is I'm just going to put the red one and use the same technique because it's slightly easier and you don't need a paper palette. And I'm all for ease. So this is my scratch and go system. I use it with the Derwent watercolour pencils. I use it with ink 10s. And Kerby's really good because what he's done is it's not kind of hatching and cross hatching, but he's put more lines together. Oh, hi Pamela, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Marion says, "Where's Alfie? Where's Alfie?" You know, I don't know. He's in the doghouse as per usual. As per usual. I think it's because everybody's in today. So because he's in, everybody's in, I don't exist. It's when everybody goes out, it's, I need to sit with my mama. But no, I don't exist at the moment because both girls are at home. When they go out, if I'm still on at 6 this evening, he will be here curled up. I have to be with my mummy because everybody else has left me. So I've been doing this silly voice, and Alfie's probably looking at me. I don't speak like that. I've got a very manly voice. But we don't think so. We think he talks like this. Alfie's scared. He reminds me of Orville. Keith. Oh, and he said his name then. There was a gentleman called Keith, and there's a ventriloquist with a duck called Orville, a big green duck. And Alfie is very much like that. So there's not much in that, but there's a hint of green in there because I mixed the paper palette, and so it depends what kind you want to do. But I still think you get a really nice image very easily. And let's face it, you know, if you're doing that with pencil, you need 4 or 5 different pencils. This, you've got one pencil. Now I am going to do this one red. And again, what you can do is you could leave the pencils at home. If you were going to the beach, you didn't want to really take your pencils. Plus the fact you're probably watching kids do things and you can't really take your eye off anything. So if you did this before you went, so you scratch a little bit of color. And again, these are very, very well pigmented. You know, they're like the Derwent watercolor pencils. They're like the Inktense. They're beautiful and they glide on. Do we think that was the same? I might do that on a different color. I don't think so. So what you could do is go through the whole. You could go through the whole book if you wish. In fact, I do have a spare Geo book. That's that light. That one's that one. And I've left that one leaf alone and that one because they're pale. Because once you've gone around all these, you will picked up color, and there's enough to do others. So that's another reason to do that. This one is going back to the red, I think. So again, you can do the whole book. So you could do 1 page in Graphitint. And if you knew somebody who had the Graphitint and they didn't have the Derwent Inktense and somebody else didn't have the Derwent watercolor, what you could do is you could send the book and swap it round. And so somebody could color some pages in the Inktense block pencils, sorry, and then send it to you. And you could do some pages with the Inktense pencils and send it back to them. So it's the same book or different books, or everybody can fill a book with the different ones, and then eventually everybody will end up with a book that has different pages with the pencils that they don't have. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So it saves everybody going out buying a full set of something that they might not like. I hope that made sense. I wish Derwent would bring out a little book like this, because then you will probably get 1,000. I had 600. You can probably get, I would say Derwent were clever enough to get 1,000 water-based colors to make squares. And each square you get 10 colors, 10 tones, 10 shades of that color. And that means you would have a small book to travel with that has 10,000 colors in it. And that doesn't mean mixing any of them. It's just touch and go. If you mix them, you might end up with 1 million colors. And only Derwent can do that. And I just think that is amazing. This is the innards from my original book. There might be a page in it. I put Hydrus in there. But this is my original book. And they're the shades. And so you could get squares. You could get quite a lot, and they'd last a while. Obviously, if you're doing a full page in 1 square, it doesn't. But there's lots of videos on my little book of water travel book that you can kind of see how it works. I think that was a slightly different one. I don't know. tempted to do that differently. So you can just do all one, especially if it's very complicated. You could do these aren't so bad here. But if you're doing certain leaves, it's good to do all colouring and then go in, and then once you've brought out those colours, things behind seem clearer, especially with the Kerbys. So again, you touch that and then you just push it around a bit. You draw out that colour, and because they are so well pigmented, there's no lines. The only when you get a line with doing this is the ink tense, and that's because it's an ink, and when it dries you get a line. But these completely melt, there's no line, and you can move them again. And of course the ink tense you can't remove, so once they're dried you end up with a line, so you have to be very quick. But you can do it, but you have to maneuver a small area at a time, and that's with the ink tense. But they don't work with pencils. And I always say that if I could only have one thing, it would be my Derwent watercolor pencils, because you can use them as a professional watercolor. And I think I'm going to do my mushrooms, and I'll work from a paper palette with my, because I don't want to use my my Sable Series 7 paintbrush for a colour book, but I'm going to do a watercolour, and I'll show just how wonderful they are. But again, there's no line left on here, completely disappears. Oh, I know what I might do next. The Colin Thompson colour book I bought again. Again, sometimes after a couple of years, you realise that your colouring has not only got better, but you've either got a style of your own, or you've got a colour, kind of a colour of your own, or you just like different things. So sometimes I like to work in muted colours. Sometimes I like to work in, if I want to work in bright colours, I use my Hydrus. I think the Seascapes, I want to be bright, really, really bright colours. Although you can do that with the Derwent watercolour pencils. There's nothing you can't do with the Derwent watercolour pencils. But sometimes certain things inspire me to be bright, and certain things inspire me to be working with pastels. So this is professional pastels. So I can't put my hand on one. I have my pastels right next to me too. So scratch a little bit of colour and then manipulate it with a brush, and it's set. So there's no, even though that's a pastel, there's no there's no dust or anything, and there's no fixative. Oh, Melody says she hasn't seen. No, I books. I can't do a room tour, but I could turn the camera around a bit. Let me just see which one is turn. I think it's this one. Now, if I do this, guys, I don't want to make you sick, but this room was very hot. So I've used cardboard. I'll take this way. So all my windows, just give me a second. And I'm quite lame because I did a lot of this myself, which was most silly to do this myself. That goes that way. That one goes that way. So that's the view outside. So I've got my big here. And I think the pencils are going to move. But what I've done is, because this is a conservatory, it's very, very hot. So I put my canvases all along the window, but the whole ceiling, it's only temp, is this, just to see if it would work, is popped up, and it's cardboard. And at the Abbey, they bought some new tables and chairs, and they had about 10 of these huge, whoops, spilled my tea. So I begged those, and then at the end is my painting. But behind there, that is the enlarger. That's the enlarger. So if I just move my chair out and don't run over my toe. Sorry, guys. So there we go. So I have my other desk here. And because it's cooler now, I can keep things in here. And just next to me, I have all my pencils, my pastels rather. And on the top, I have my oils. And I haven't used those for a while because you've got to kind of rub and blend a bit. And so I've not worked myself up to doing that yet. So this is all messy. But here, if you can see behind, these were the bookcases. These are the Billy bookcases. And what I've done is I've just put them in the middle of the room. So I've cut the conservatory in half. You can see that's where the light is. And on the back here, on top of this desk, is going a cabinet with glass doors, so everything can be put away and not get dusty. And that's the conservatory over there. But it's a cloudy day today, but even in the summer day, the light, it's worked. It hasn't cost anything. It does the job. Yes, Pamela, it does the job. Oh, hi, Nick and Tina. Welcome to Bunny's Designs. So I brought that out because I'm a bit stale with my drawings. We're not quite as blurred as I thought. So that's one of my big paintings. This is another one that I was working on, but I'm going to use this. This is I made this at college, but again, my hands were bad, so you've got to pull hard and stretch and things, and I can't do that. So I haven't really sorted the drawers out, and then I've got my brown drawers right next to me, which when I open one, it becomes a little shelf, and then we've got the desk. We're back to the desk. I'm just going to shut that for a second, guys, because I've just twisted that round. Right, and then we're back to the desk. So that's where we're at the minute, and I do have my little radio there as well. So it's kind of a space. And the reason I did it is because I bought a set of the Derwent pencils and had a play when I was really poorly. And although it's not very good because it's very scratchy, I thought for a first attempt, I saw myself getting better. I've never worked with pencils because they've always hurt my hands. But the new Derwent Lightfast, they remind me very much of these. They're very creamy, and you get a lot of pigment off with a stroke. Actually, they do actually remind me of that, and they're more kind of oily. So most pencils are wax, and these are an oil, and you can catch a lot of color without having to do this and get some dark colors in. And the only problem I didn't like with this is we all know Alfie is a King Charles, and I was worried because these colors aren't as rich. He's more of a kind of I mean, there is a golden boy, but he's gingerer, probably a chestnut bay. And in the set, there wasn't a chestnut bay. So I'm going to have a go at my friend's dog as a practice. And again, you can see here, if you do this with it, you can see greys and blues and reds, and a sienna. It's a very gingery brown red in there, but this eye's different, slightly different color, but very pale blue, almost an ice blue on there. So I thought I would have a go, but this color wasn't in. I mean, it almost looks like a watercolor, that. And then another lady I showed Alfie asked her if I would do, and of course that's Jessie. So again, I'd like to do Jessie. So again, when you blow up, we've got some very pale greens, and almost she hasn't got a blue tint for a black. Oh, there's a bit of blue in there, but there's a purple. And now I always used to say to people, I can't see that. I can't see that. But yeah, I can see purple and turquoise in there. Now, bless Jessie, she's the little cat that had cigarettes put out on her. So she is a little bit of a funny colour, shall we say. So what I was doing, I've been taking photographs. And of course, this is the Alf Master. And he's just that bit gingery. I don't know where I put my photographs now. Did you not keep all those photographs? I also take photographs of the kittens for the RSPCA. And again, I thought that was a beautiful one as well to practice, because I do need to practice, because I don't think I've got as good as I want to be. So here's the, that's quite nice. And this is the this is the Alfie. Sorry guys, if you're not into birthday babies. This is the Alfie. Now that was quite a nice one. I quite like that when he was younger. That's when we first got him. But this color here, I didn't get it right, because there wasn't in the original 36 pencils, there wasn't that gorgeous color, that rich kind of warm color. There he is again with these little short ears. I think this is the drawing there. That's the drawing, but he does have odd eyes. He does have very odd eyes, does that Alfie? But it's a bit reddier, it's a bit warmer. This is a ginger sienna kind of really warm color. And that's where dear Melody stepped in. I'm very cross with her. You can't be cross with Melody, can you? And thank you, Melody, because it has the ginger colors in it, the new ones they've brought out. When the Lightfast came out, they brought out some colors that were Lightfast 36, and the complaint was there wasn't any bright ones. Well, now they brought the bright ones out, and I think there's another 28 to come. I think there's when I was looking in the little book, it said 100 colors, but the beauty of them is you can buy them individually. So if you're using them, like I use quite a lot of white, and there's an oyster white, a white, and an Arctic white. So thank you. So I'm getting better with pencils, and these are very creamy, these actually. So I need to have a bit of a practice with that. I might do that one on the new channel, because I've not used it yet, because I've been quite poor. I haven't had my daughter to help me. Hope that made sense, guys. I'm going to have to have a drink of tea. Has anybody got any questions? I have to have a drink of tea. I have to drink of tea. Oh my goodness. Put that in to charge. So Alfie is very photogenic. Should have to find something nice to send you. But we all love our fur babies. Well, most of the time. So back to where I'll drink my tea, and if you've got any questions, we're back to our graphite. But they're very creamy. I can't express. You know, you could use them as a pencil anyway. You don't have to use them as a watercolor. And there's, I think, with Derwent products like the and the Lightfast ones are vegan as well. They're all vegan friendly, so that's quite nice to know. Has anybody got any questions? Alfie's a rat bag. He did an unmentionable in the conservatory this morning. Again. He's a rat bag. He just looks cute, but apart from that, there's nothing cute about the Elf Master. I would think if you use these as a pencil, and again, I do have these in my travel book, unfortunately, because everything's everywhere, and I moved the desk, and that's why I hurt myself last week. It's taken me, it used to take me a day to recover. Now it takes me a week. So I've been about a week and a half where I haven't been able to move because I moved this desk on my own. And I'd like to say we get older and wiser, but I don't think I'm any, I don't think I'm any wiser. Yeah, I think what I might try to do, you see, I love the fact that yes, we've got them pale, but we get thousands of colors. You know, that you can almost, well, you could say that if you bought a tin or a tube of 24 watercolors, that's what we've got here. Because the other thing I was going to show is you can scrape color here into a little well, add water, like you can with the Derwent watercolor pencils, and make a wash. So we've got all these beautiful muted colors as a wash. And normally we use our other colors as a wash, but you know, you can imagine some of these really graphic tinted, pencily, dull colors as a wash. You know, you've got all these beautiful pale, dull, everything's dull. Every color is dull, and that's what the pencil's done to the color. Does that make sense, guys? Has anybody got any questions? I'm drinking my cold tea because hubby will go mad if he makes it and I haven't drunk it. Well, he won't go mad, but let me see if I can find a photograph of this machine. So in the 70s, in the late 70s, I'll just have a break for a few minutes. In the late 70s, when we did graphic design at Jacob Cramer Art College, we had a section for graphics, for drawing, for color, and even though it was design, we did color all day. And I had the most amazing color teacher, who unfortunately is no longer with us, called Christine Darley. And I also had a fantastic artist that taught me to draw. And I keep saying I'm going to say his name, and I can't say his name, so I'm just going to Google him. Absolutely amazing. Just bear with me a second. Can't find him at the minute. I can't find him at the minute, but I did have the most amazing tutors then, and he taught us to draw with a pot of ink and 3 sticks. I was just having a nostalgic moment there. Sorry, guys. Whoops. So, trundling through eBay, as I have been doing, I found one of these. And I haven't used one of these for years. And what you do is you put on here an image, and then you enlarge it by turning one of these wheels, and then you focus it by turning the other wheel. So if I had the picture of Alfie, I wanted to draw it again, instead of me having to draw it and spend hours drawing it again, I can just put Alfie under there, and this becomes a light box, and put the curtain over you, and you in your own little world just drawing all your things. So my idea is to put all my drawings that I have of all the different elements of the plants I've been drawing, and the mushrooms, and I can create a A3 composition by tracing and reducing and enlarging all the mushrooms to fit in a composition. Does that make sense? Because what I've been doing is trying to draw something, then I'll make a mistake, or I won't like something on it, and I'll draw another one. But there are some elements of the drawings that I do like. So that will help me create my color pages. So that's what I've been doing. And so we trundled off down south to pick. I think that's all I was going to show you there. I will look up my drawing tutor a bit later. So have you got any questions? And I've had these, I don't use things a lot. And as you can see, they're not very well sharpened, because if you sharpen a pencil, you're basically putting it in the bin. It's like rinsing your brush out. And one of my very first videos, I coloured 30 colour book pages in, and all I was doing was putting my Gansai Tambi watercolours in my little book of watercolours. So I was making puddles on this good quality paper. I was making fat puddles that I could then touch with a wet brush and colour with, because I loved the Gansai Tambi watercolours, but I hated the box. So I put them in my little book of watercolours, so that I had those beautiful greens and reds that were in there, but I had them in a travel book. And as I put them in, you have to kind of really get about 3 or 4 good puddles of a big fat brush and twist. And that left me with a brush full of colour. And instead of washing it out with a brush, I got a colour book that I didn't like, so mandalas and patterns that I hate doing, and I just did this mindlessly, and it took me all day. It took me about 8 to 9 hours. And then when it got very dry, I touched the tip into water, which reconstituted it, and the colours got paler and paler and paler and paler till there was nothing left. And then I got my book and I did the next colour, and then I got my colour book and I used the colour till it had all gone off the brush. And I coloured 30 pages of colour book pages of very, very ornate designs. So probably a bit more than here. I did 30 pages. And if I was converting and putting my colours into a book, normally you would do that and you'd rinse your brush out. But by not rinsing the brush out, I painted 30 colours, 30 pages. So 30 pages, that's a lot of pigment to wash down the drain. And that's the same with sharpening the pencils, if they're a water-based one, that is. I'm just a tight Yorkshire lass, I can't help myself. And there is a video of me doing that. It's very bad because it was 4 o'clock in the morning and the dog was out. And the dog started doing a funny turn in the middle of the room when we had the lurcher. But it shows that when you wash your brush out, there's 36 colours. There's 36 colours in the Gansai Tambi watercolour thing. I think there's 36. So there was nearly, for every brush, I got a full page. And what I did is I mixed the colours. I didn't do the monochrome. I turned pages over and put the colours where I wanted them. And then I went back to another colour. So I'd do all the red flowers, and then I'd go back and all red certain places, and then on another pattern. And I'll dig those out. I found them recently. And it shows you that, as I say, washing your brush out when you are watercolouring, and as a professional artist, it drives me insane, but I have to do it. The only other way to do it is if you are doing a certain painting, you could have a colour book on the side, but not if it was timed or dated and you have to get something finished. But if you were just doing it as is, then I do it and just have a colour book on the side. There's a lady called Jenny Belly, and years ago, probably 5-6 years ago, I watched her, and she used to have pieces of paper the full length of her, so she would cover her desk with white paper or paper, and then when she was doing something, if she'd finished, she'd scribble what was left on this paper, and there were some beautiful patterns, and then she'd cut the paper up and use it for collage. So there's always a way not to throw stuff away. Baby wipe idea from her, because although she cleaned the baby wipe and they were dirty with color, they were almost like tie-dyed, and then she used them in color books. She used them as texture for collages and things. So you don't even have to throw the baby wipes away. If you dry them, you can use them as texture, and then you glue them into a book and you have a beautiful texture for collages and for mixed media. Way to use what people would normally throw away. So I'm a bit of a tight Yorkshire lass, I have to say, but the idea for the baby wipes is using them. Mine was that when I'd wipe my face, they were perfect. Sorry, face wipes, they were perfectly all right to then use for the art. So I don't buy baby wipes anymore. I buy my face wipes and I repurpose them. The only thing is if I've got a lot of foundation on. If I've been anywhere and I've got foundation on, then obviously I don't reuse that one. But you could be perfectly good for oil paints, for your oil brushes, because oil brushes wreck everything anyway. But it's very occasionally that I use those anyway. So sorry guys, that was a bit of a waffle. Does anybody else use the face wipes and repurpose them, or the baby wipes? Obviously, when you've used them on the baby, you can't. Sorry, guys. I've just bought because I've got a scooter. I can't bear the wheelchair, but I've got a scooter. I've just bought one of these as well. No, bear with me. I've been watching another couple on YouTube, and they're the Future Neighbours. I think it's called Future Neighbours. And when she goes to work or college, she has a little box to put rice and things in, and it's a stackable, fits in a little bag. And I thought, oh, that's brilliant. So when I looked on Amazon for it, didn't like the plastic, and I thought, I just don't like the plastic. I don't like the plastic. So I was looking for pack-ups that were kind of as far away from plastic if I could possibly get. But one thing I found was this. Oops. And oops, if I can show what it is. I bought this for Felicity, for the baby. And it's got 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's got 7. Oh, thank you, darling. I've got another cup of tea. Sorry, I will wade through that. It's got 7 pots, and then you've got a little thing for your cutlery. So if I just do this a minute. Just 2 seconds now, darling. Thanks. Oh, sorry, guys. I apologise. Hubby comes in and he starts to just chat. I forget. So sorry, guys. I wanted everybody to see that little thing I bought for Felicity. I got her a pink one for when I'm babysitting, but I thought it'd be handy for me as well, because you could put nuts in there and some healthy fruit, and then I'm not picking at chocolate biscuits and things when I'm hungry. Let me see. So I'm doing this quite slowly, and this is quite a fast pace. So there's some different coloured flowers. Oh, that's the red one. That's number 17. So back to the drawing board. And with these being very soft, they're very easy to use as well. So that's always a big thing for me. Because I have some other pencils that are water-based, but I can't really use them because they kind of get on my nerves. I think I've just used the wrong colour, haven't I? I thought I used number 17. So, and again, you can see there's no blend at all. So then we go back over there with the highlights. Pick up some colour and just do that one. And you won't notice that one until I put the back behind it. So I do feel a lot better now I have somewhere to be. I don't know if that's a personal thing, because I've been having all my stuff out on the lounge and I've been in trouble all the time. So with Amy coming back from uni, everything's got to change. So once you scratched it down, it's very, very quick. I think that's the blue one, or colour guide back out. Leave that on there. Let's see. Number 7. I think number 7. I do like this difference here. I like that, but it's not as quick and easy as this one. But I do love mixing two colours together. And again, it works really well because they are so soft that they literally just melt. Now, I don't have to just do this separately. But I wanted to show you how easy they are and just how gorgeous they are. And there's no reason why you can't use these for... That must be there as well. If you can't use these in conjunction with the watercolours. So I've put my watercolour pencils in a box that I bought for pastels. I bought it secondhand. A lady had a box and she was closing down and she said I could buy the box. And I think it holds 90 because I think the pastels originally, and again, like the traditional set I've got, the vintage set I've got, that is definitely has 100 in it. The new set has 72. They're blue as well, aren't they? So I can put that in, and I can get these graphy tints in there as well. So that's going to make me, and it doesn't matter how much you scratch or what you do, But sorry, going back to the, that's what's reminded me about the Derwent, oh, not the Derwent, sorry guys, brain is, the last 2 days, the brain has been somewhere else. The Colin Thompson, and of course it's books, but we get lovely muted books, like Victorian books are muted. So, oh, you see, what I'm doing is I've been mixing the bottom of the brush, and it activates too much water. So what you need to do is just stroke the tip, and you don't get a lot of water. Got a bit carried away then. I kind of like that, but I do love these completely different colours that I've had before. And drink my hot tea, guys. And again, sometimes you might want to experiment. And the nicest, if you were going into hospital, like when my hubby was having his stroke, I wouldn't be able to get the pencils out because, you know, you might drop one or they make a noise. But if I'd already put the colour in like this, if you know somebody's going to go for an operation and you might have to go a lot of visiting, scratch the colour in and you can do this one-handed. And it keeps you calm under a very stressful thing. And I keep going on about when hubby had his stroke, but it really, really worked. And I was very shocked. I've used it for a little bit of pain relief, but I've never used it in a very stressful situation, but it worked and I was very surprised. I think I can hear some crunching. I think that's the red one. I don't know what that is. I'm going to leave it. And that's one of those. And that's one of those. So anything that you can do one-handed, because as I said, I was holding hubby's hand, and that's when I took my little book of watercolors in there. And it means I've got hundreds of colors to book. So I'm going to remake mine as well. So and that one is the red one as well. I think this might look quite nice. Normally I do things lots of different. If you've restricted to colour, it can make you think a little bit more. And that's a pink one. No, that's a pink one, and that's a, yeah, they're pink as well. So you just want to activate the tip because we don't want too much water. And this Derwent #1 brush is the only one that does this. I've bought lots of other brushes. None of them are as dry and barely wet as this one. So it works extremely well. Now that could be the Alf Master. We'll see if he's there pinching the dog's biscuits. He's got very fat because he's been stealing biscuits. So bear with me a second, guys, because if he's eating a whole thing of cat biscuits, and there's never any peace. That sounds like an Alf. Oh no, it isn't. It's a bung. Hi, bung. Hello, bunga bunga. Hello, bunga bunga. You've been snotty. Hello, darling. You're beautiful. We don't normally see you, do we? Don't we? Never stop what this is. Just take me dinner. You've got me now. Haven't you? Just stole it. So we'll have a quick Bungle cam. So don't know if you remember Bungle from last year. He's huge. And he's huge and he's snotty. Aren't you? This is beautiful big Bungle, but he's snotty. Aren't you? He's beautiful. Aren't you? And he's snotty. Just get your nose down there. We'll get rid of it. Nasty stuff. Snotty. So Bungle was that little fur ball. And now the big boy is huge. He's huge, aren't you? So Bungle we don't see very often because he's grown up and he's far too superior to be on camera now. But this was the tiny little kitten that was curled up, and he was little, and he's huge. He weighs about a stone now. He's a big boy, and he's so fluffy. And nobody wanted him because he was black. But we love you, don't we, Bungle? Even though he's snotty, but he's got beautiful eyes. There we go. Right, I'll pop him back so he doesn't have to jump back up again and then get his dinner. Come on then, let's go have your dinner. Good boy. Good boy, Bungle. There we go. There we go. It's the door shut, so the master will not be joining us until later. Oh, you're welcome, darling. Thank you. Thank you for my beautiful pencils, Melody. Have a lovely afternoon. Enjoy your dinner. Oh, bye, Pamela. Have a lovely afternoon. Anybody else I've missed? Sorry, guys. I've got the laptop just that bit far away and I can't read chat. So have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks for popping by, guys. Hope everybody's plodding along as we do. And I do use a lot of this therapy. Oops. My eyesight's got worse. I can't see that very well. They are a little bit bluer. This is a bit of a greeny colour. But I still like the mixing two colours together, but and the leaves, I do like that, but I like the ease of the just scratch and go, and you still get a lovely watercolor effect, but with very little effort. And anything that does that is quite nice. As I say, sometimes I love to mess about and be a long time, and other times it's no, I need to kind of do it, and that's it. So I think I found another one of these under here. So we've got a cloudy day today. I haven't seen many butterflies. I bought quite a few books on butterflies, but I'm trying to find. I need to save up for some vertical blinds so that I can open the window and let the light in when we have a dull day, but shut out when we have a very hot day. And just have it. Actually, there is a shadow of light coming in of sunshine. So I think I might try to introduce a different colour here. We said we didn't have a yellow. We don't have a yellow. But that's a kind of a pink. Oh, we have a purple. That's what I was going to use. Although we call it purple, I think it's number 3. I think it's aubergine. Yeah. So I think we'll do aubergine over here. And it is a little scribble. Not much more than a scribble. And that's almost like a dull violet colour, so that would be lovely. That would be quite lovely with that. So I shall have a look. What I'll do is I'll finish this page, and then I'll have a break. And start a new video, a new live stream. And I'm going to do a Colin Thompson. I think I want to do muted books as well. But I do have my pastels behind me as well. But so we've nearly got all the flowers. Again, what you have to do with the Kerby Rosane one is just kind of have a bit of a look. Now I've left the petals. Anything that's loose, that isn't connected, I've left. So these kind of were olivey colours. So looking at my green, I've got number 11. Number 10 is quite pale. And we don't have a darker green, but remember I can make a darker green. And number 8 and number 5 kind of blues. So we can add do some colours with that. I might do a little bit of mixture colours with that one. But the paler ones, I think, are the bigger ones. So I might just do this one. Now there is supposed to be an ivy. So let me just have a bit of a play with this one. So this one, nice. Now I might just put a touch of something else with it. Let me have a look. So the big leaf, I always think paler. That one and that one. Again, you've got to have a bit of a plan here because they kind of turn into something else. Now that one is definitely not that one. And that one, but I think that one is. So and then we've got we'll do that one first. Oops, and the brush was a little bit wet actually. So, and of course, once this has dried, probably tomorrow or a good few hours, there's nothing why you can't go in back in there and add more darker to it. So you can always work very light and then go put some shadows in a bit later. I tend to forget what I was doing, so I have to do a page kind of there and then, otherwise it's gone. So I've got some really nice colour there now. So if I come up there with that, it's almost to nothing, so I can pick a bit of colour up. And I've got quite a contrast there. And again, you can always pick the colour back up because it's the watercolour. And this one here, that's what it was. We can manipulate this colour. And you've got to be comfortable. You might want to check. What else have we got? I do like that leaf colour. It's a really nice colour, but I'm just going to do the ivy because there's not much in the ivy and that one. So this is number 11. I can scratch some colour in. If you had a point, you could put a vein colour along the vein to really to do that. So find out what's what and where's where, especially with the Kerbys. And the other one is once you start, you can just do all things without stopping. and that's got this coming out of it, but it's I'm going to do that purple. And let's put it on there. All these leaves all over the place disappear to nothing. And then we can use those gorgeous graphic colours for the clock mechanism behind. I think it's a line colour brush, because we don't want lots of water in our colour book. And say you don't need to rub too much because these just melt. You colour on, then you can go even to the beach, and all you've got to think about is your water brush, because you don't want to be taking use. Touch and go, and then there's touch and go, which is just touching a paper palette colour, but it's all done with a Derwent watercolour brush. And I quite like the fact that it's the same technique, but you can get different effects with different water-based mediums. I always find that quite nice, because it's not always easy to learn a different kind of product. It's nice to know what these pencils can do. And I suppose I should try to blend with them, but it's something that I probably wouldn't do. But if you wanted to explore them completely, and I'm not scrubbing hard, because remember what we said about paper. The only paper you can scrub hard on is watercolour paper, or oils if you're on a canvas. But this kind of paper does not like. It's the rubbing that does the damage, not necessarily the water. But we have a combination of both, and it destroys the papers. Again, you can do it a lot neater than me, and you can also turn the book round so you're more comfortable. Got my dreaded crease again. Oops. Made a mistake. But I can get over that, I think. So we're doing this colour. So it's coming along. Oh, hi, Darla. Welcome to Bunny's Designs. Oh, bye, Sarah. Have a grand day. I pulled the camera a bit. Oops. Probably have an avalanche. So let's see if we can just. Oh, no. It's on the move. It's on the move. Sorry, guys. On the move. Just pull that down a bit. That's a bit. It's on the move. But I do like the fact that it's all flat and I'm using my little brush. Again, you don't realize how tiring it is doing this and then cleaning the brush out and coming back, cleaning the brush out. And again, it just means that you can colour for longer. So we've got a dragonfly and a few stems, but I think I'll leave the stems because I always botch the stems. I have found two more of these. So I'm going to leave the stems and I'm going to do the clock and all the metal pieces. So I'm going to use greys and probably cooler browns. Clean the brush. And I just have one of those, which I think is this one. Never saw that before. So we've got 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 cogs. That's another one. We've got the clock workings. So now I want to think of layers. So I need to put the top layer will be the hands. So they're going to be the palest. So I can look on here and you think, are you going to be gold or is it going to be silver? Well, it can't be gold because I don't have any warm yellows. So it's going to be greys. So we've got 5 greys if we don't count that one, and we've got number 6. Number 6 will probably be good for the background. So the palest one is 22 and it's more of a silver. So I'm going to get number 22 and I don't really have any shadows because it's the top thing. So I think I'm going to have that solid colour. And again, don't have a sharp point, but I can do this. So we'll get this first. So we start at the top. And the only other one I would possibly do No, I'll do those last. The numbers. I was going to do the numbers the same as well, but I won't. So I did clean the brush. Just gently activating that colour to make it the grey that we want. Again, just remembering to activate the tip. So we can barely see that, but it will stand out once we've got the other. So the next two are these. So we can plot it all out now if we want. That's a bit of a warmer brown, those two. They're warmer, and there's three there. I do like that for the dark. I mean, you don't have to do that. You could do like the, not the filigree, the greeny rusty thing that goes on, corrosive thing that goes on. But I think with the blue, with the colours, if we do plain at the back, it will stand out. So we've got 19 and 20 and 21. So I think 20. I've used 22. So 20 is the next one, I think. And that one is, oh no, not 20. I've used 22. I've written the wrong numbers down. Oh, that's black. Number 20 is black, but it's a pale black. That's interesting. So 22. 22 is cloud grey. I do want a little bit of warmth. We can mix colours, of course. Now, I think I did them all in browns last time. I did like 14 and 15 and 16. I don't know how difficult that one is going to be. '23 is cool grey, but it's a bit blue as that one. So black is 20. I think we could possibly use number 9. That's a green grey, is number 9. I think we'll possibly. I think I'll do. I've got a sage colour. Oh, it's sage is 12, but that's green. So when you look at them when they're strong and then you look at them when they're weak, this is quite a nice tone. So I'm kind of looking here rather than looking on the full strength. And so number 12. Now this is a cool brown. It's quite nice. I think we'll use this one. put this one here. This is the hardest bit. The other bit is quite easy. So if I do this at kind of a really deep colour, the flowers are kind of going to stick out a bit. And I don't seem to have a sharp point, so I've got probably 2 millimeter, 3 millimeters of lovely colour that's coming out without having to go over more than once. And if it was really sharp, I wouldn't be able to do that. So again, another reason not to sharpen the pencil. Oh, now that's gone underneath that one. I may have to go over that. Sorry, guys. I have to go over that one again. I forgot that Kerby does the thing where you go in and out of things and up and behind things. Sorry, guys. There shouldn't be 2 of those going off. And then you want and because you don't have a sharp point, you don't have to go right to the edge if you don't want to, because you can take the brush there. And that's another advantage of using a water pencil. Right. And then I want to do the inside something else. So I'm going to start up here. I'm not going to think about shadows and highlights and things. I don't think this page lends itself to that, really. And again, it's just so therapeutic to just manipulate the paint around the edges. Got to be a little bit careful because it is a bigger space than we're used to. So too much water and it will buckle. But gentle movements will be fine. I think there's a few nuts and screws and doodahs sticking out. I think I'm going to do those in the top colour. And again, it's very therapeutic. I use mine a lot if my pain medication is not working, and just concentrating on something else just takes the edge off. Not always, but it's worth a chance. Just have to just check. I think that's where I went wrong, so I'm just going to leave that bit for a second. So there's some, for anything mechanical or metal, these Graphitint pencils are just lovely to use, because you'd have to faff about a little bit to get the greys that we want. Because this is what we want that one to go behind that one. And then this one becomes this one. And there is a little finishing touch you can do so that you know one of these goes behind the other. So you can do that a bit later. Again, if you want to turn the book, you can, so you're comfortable. So if anybody's got any questions, pop them in caps, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Hope everybody's enjoying the sunny weather. The buddleia is out, but we've no butterflies. So I don't think we've got any butterflies. I think I'm going to use that one for this one as well. I think I'm going to use it for all of them that are must remember to do that because it's getting on my nerves a bit. That green, I'm going to colour that in. I know I am at some point. So I think I might have to do another stem now because you can see different things popping out now. I can put a few shadows behind that one too. And again, that's the beauty. Once you've finished, you can then think, right, now I need to put a few dark areas in just to kind of bring it to life. But you can do that at the end, really, when everything's where it should be, or almost everything's where it should be. And you can be a little bit more precise as well. So it's slowly coming along. The pale one we wanted 22. It's going to do all the screws, or nails, or whatever we've got. In fact, I should have left them white, those. That would have been better to leave them white, but never mind, I've done it now. Those two little things in the middle, but never mind. It's done. It's done now. Where are we now? Oh, missed one. I think I've got all those. Put that over there. So I've got a dragonfly and a bird. The dragonfly needs to be bright colours, so I want number 7. Ocean blue. That's ocean blue though, so I can't use that. I'll have to use number 5. Shadow. I've used number 7, so I'll use number 5. And obviously, once another one down here. I've got to be a bit careful because there isn't a point on this. I don't want to go over the line. So, but I have a sharp edge, so that's quite good. So let's see what that's done. So thanks guys for stopping by. Hope having a pleasant afternoon. It's quite nice here. As I say, because it's not so hot, it's just quite nice. There's a little bird there, and I think that's the only creature. Is that little bird? Not sure what it is. My dragonflies are quite green. Oh, sorry guys, are quite green. Oh, hi, Rochelle. Bunny's Designs. Is it okay? Have we got an internet issue, or is it just? See if we can go on. If you go to the top, you can press and go for 1080p. Let me see if I can do something. Can come out. Is that any better? I wonder if that's any better. Is that better, guys? Is that any better? And if you, on your iPad, if you can tap a top button up here somewhere, up there. Sometimes it's you can press to see it in 1080p rather than in, because mine reverts back to sometimes 320, and you think, oh my goodness. Maybe that might help. Sorry, it's blurry. The gents came to mend the internet yesterday, so I know we're okay now. The trees were in the way because we're wireless. We have wireless internet because our line is really bad. So I kind of like that. It's if I do this, I wonder if we could get it to do automatic. Problem with mine is I can't hold it up straight. So if we hold it there, is it going to focus? So the angle of the camera is wrong, you see, and I shake too much. I kind of like the colours. They're not too bad. Oh, there's the boy wanting to come in to say hello. There's the boy. So I do like having my pencils in this BTSKY. I think it's a 260. And it's quite nice just to put them in and push them in, and it is an easy one to use. But with the other pencils, I've put them back in the original boxes because there's just something nice about working out of a box. And I bought this to travel when we did model shows, and hubby's retired now. So we're not going away as much. So most of my stuff is being used in the home. And I better go let the boy in. We're coming up to 3 hours. What I might try and do is just finish this. And then I can get... I do like the fact of leaving those white. I wish I'd left those white now, but never mind. So we want a slightly darker green. I can hear Alfie scritching at the... so number 19 is a warm grey. I don't know if I want a warm grey. I want a bit of kind of colour in here, I think. But there's a black. Number 6. Number 6 is a steel blue. That might be quite nice to go in here, I think. And create. Oh, so it's the cat's wanting to do. No, it's Alfie trying to get in. So he's obviously. So I'll do the outside one first. And I've missed a leaf there, so. So you can do a lot of detail, or you can kind of go with the flow. And again, this is something quite nice because you can work while you're watching TV. It doesn't have to be a strict, oh gosh, I've got to sit and do this, and it does tend to lend itself. So we'll see what that looks like. In theory, we should have, and then what we can do then is do some detail. So we've coated the top there, and then if we go back in there when all this is dried, we can darken the background, and then it'll let the ones we've just coloured stand out to be a beautiful smoke grey. I've got an aeroplane going over now, guys. So it's quite a nice little colour, is that? It's like a cool steel colour. So, and I can put the very dark one behind, rather than draw every individual one. Just going to be a bit careful because again we're dealing with, not going to have a window left if I don't go stop him. It's just giving it that little bit of, it's just giving it that little bit of something. Again with this one I think as well. But by drawing round things, if it's easy to do, that is. And again, you can, once you've done that, you can really see your highlights. They're going to start popping out. And you can decide whether you want to leave the bird white or you want a bit of my thumb is aching a bit because I have scribbled a little bit. That's a bit too dark, is that one, but that one's going to be fine. Stroke, you can see how pale that is. That's just stroking. Whereas when I've been scratching the darker colour, I've been kind of going a bit deeper, so it's made the hand hurt just that little bit, and that's given that not full on colour. That's quite nice. Again, you find different techniques that you can use. I don't think I've done quite this way before, but it's very similar to just scratch and just scratch colour on and then just dampen it a little bit. And then we're going to come to the really darks, I think that's going to, when it pops out, when you get the really darks in there. What we can do now is show what these can do. So we've got the on, and then we can add it to a highlight. So we've got our own little highlight. Oh, welcome back, Marilyn. Thank you for stopping by. Anybody else? Everybody's having a good day. We've got this one here. Got to be a bit careful putting it on when it's wet because it doesn't like it. So I think that's not so bad. This one, I think this one, I shall have the same. And I think all the others, I think I've got one other colour to do, and then I'm going to use a very dark. I can use a pale black, and then the ones at the back I'm going to really put to be dark, I think. Because I want the others to stand out, and they won't do. This one needs to be standing out, doesn't it? I think this should have been the other colour, but they do kind of just melt. Just want a bit more colour on there. You could just pick it up. It wouldn't be quite as strong. And this one is cool grey. So cool grey on this one. And they're very well behaved. They are melting into absolutely nothing. can always go back in with a bit of detail, a bit of black to kind of really raise it up. So this one is on top. But I think most of the others now I'm going to do quite dark in order to let the other ones brighten up. So this is Midnight Black, but I'm not putting, I'm going to put, where it's very dark, I'm going to put complete black. And then that's going to let me see what kind of play with then. Oh, hi, Laurie. Welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else popping in? About the Maglai. So because I'm picking pop out a little bit better. I'm a bit side and quite a long way away from me. And it'll make other things pop. And then when your colour starts to fade, you can start to go over other things. So we're using the black, a bit of a dark grey, which when we looked on here, number 20 was a beautiful grey, but it is in fact to darken the very darks up. And then when I feel it's not doing that, I can go to what I think should be a little bit paler. And get 3 or 4 tones out of a black. Hope that makes sense, guys. And you see, I want that to pop up because we want this to stand out. And you won't notice what you've done until you're getting paler colour, but you're getting about at least 3 or 4 colours out of the black. And you have to just work your way around it. It's going to take a bit of time, this. And what you're doing also is making things go on top of each other like that. So they're very dark. And eventually So even though you've only got 24 in this set, you've got 240 colours. I'm just adding a pale. And we've got some beautiful greys just out of the black. And if you need to go back over it, just wait a little while and then darken. You need to darken last. But I've played about in that area enough, so I'm going to leave that, I think. Put that one behind that one. And put that one behind that one. So you've got 4 layers under there. And I think that's a leaf, so I might have to pop that one in a minute. So we've got very dark. I've got a little bit on there. Never mind. So let's clean the brush. Let's see if we can get that off. So if that was on watercolour paper, it would come off, but it's not too bad. I'll zoom in a little bit and see if we can see a bit better. So I think that's a cog. I'll just get this right because I think that's a cog. That's a cog. That's a wheel. That's a cog. That's a plant. And then that one's paler. Again, I should have probably used this slightly. I'm going to get one behind the other, so it's going to make everything stand out. Oh, good night, Marilyn. I hope you do have a lovely sleep. But thank you for popping in. It'll be very late for you at this time. Oh, here's the boy. Here's the boy. Oh, thank you. It's like magic, this. Thank you, Danny. Is Alfie here?
Yeah, Alfie's here.
I don't think there's any dog biscuits, is there, to pinch? There's the Elf Master. Alfie Toons. So it has made some of the greys go back and some go forward. So we do have a little bit of something going on. As I say, probably would like to go. I don't think I put it in here. I usually carry it. This is where I usually carry my. No, it's not in there. I usually carry one in there actually. But this is a little bit big for this job. But again, sometimes it's nice just to use a water brush. But I do always have normally, I do always have that little brush with me. So, oh, hello, Alfie Tickle Leg. Sorry, I just had a tickle. There's a little boy under the desk. Again, you can play with depth and things. So I've got the stems to do. So you can see what's happening. It's taken about 3 hours, but I've been waffling, so 3 hours and 20 minutes, but I have been waffling about other things, so but we've got some quite nice darks to play with, so that's looking quite good. And when you think we're getting all these colours from a black, that's always good. That's always a good thing, isn't it? And we could have a shadow in there if we wanted. Alfie? 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 Alfie Toos? We can have some that completely almost disappear, I think. So I've got a few stems to do. So I'm just going to clean the brush. I'm just going to scratch a little bit of green in that one, and then I'll finish the page, guys, and then it's done. It was a practice, but it's not been so bad. Oh, I've got another cog going on there somewhere. That's a leaf. That's a leaf. Oh, I think it's raining, guys. I don't know if Nigel just got any washing out. There's a lantern there, so that's obviously on the fine list. Find the lantern. So let's just give a hint of green. Now, you could go a lot steadier than me because this is making me rushing. So just bear me a second, guys. Sorry guys, I had to get Nigel to get the washing in. I found another bit there, look, missed. So if one's dark, it's working quite well. Is that it's just a bit time consuming that you're having to all the time. Kind of behind the other. And then you're always going to find another leaf. So you can kind of really darken quite a lot of spaces up. And that will make all the leaves pop out. And there's a card there as well. So if we put another dark layer on that. It really makes the 12 stand out. But because we're doing all of them, it all goes. So I'm probably just a little bit more, but roughly it's kind of finished now. And again, really different from the last time, although I think I've used Graphitint in a Kerby Rosane before. I quite liked mixing them, but a lot more effort really. But yeah, if you wanted to kind of really take a few days, this has taken about 3 and a bit hours. Probably do another half an hour to it, and then you could put maybe some, if you wanted to put some darker tones in, but I actually quite like it as it is. Oh, thank you, Kingo. Thank you, darling. Hubby's brought me a cup of tea, so I better drink this one because I've now got 3 cups here. Yeah, so I would probably leave that now. I've got a little bit of a crinkle on the back, but not much. But yeah, there's no reasons why you can't go in. Now, I don't have the yellow, but I have a Meadow number 10. Maybe the greens could do with darkening up a bit. So if you wanted to try and put the yellows in the middle, I'd have to darken the greens up now because my green yellow is not going to look very yellow because I've used it for the middles. And And I found another stem. There's always something you've forgotten. Always something you've forgotten. Just very carefully colour that. And I mean, you could have left it white. It depends what you want to do. I haven't decided what to do with the bird, so I've left it white. I might come back to it and think, oh, well, actually, you know, I want to do something else. I want to make the hat more, or I want to use a little bit of number 7, or not even number 5. I'll put a bit of number 5 in there. Oops. Top off. You can get a bit more of a shadow, so you can sit and play, but it's quite nice to get that colour. Can make that quite dark because it's behind that flower. The dragonfly looks quite dark. These leaves could do maybe with something. Because we've got a much of a muchness now. What I want to say, so we can, by putting that blue over them, we've darkened. It's a bird scarer, guys, sorry. So as I say, even though there's only 24 in this set, it's quite nice that we can just put a bit of variation on those greens, because so we put a little bit of variation on that. So the colours are quite muted, and we've managed to get kind of a really light highlight there, and then a really deep colour inside. So you can play about, but I did quite like messing about when I first started, putting 2 colours in one flower. But for speed and for just colouring for therapy, this kind of touch and go, scratch and go works quite well. But again, they are very well behaved. So you can scratch and mix the colours on a palette. You can scratch 2 colours next to each other if you wanted. There's lots of little ways you can do things. That dragonfly looks rather drab. It looks rather drab, just that dragonfly. Not sure what I can do with it. I don't think white's going to do anything, but we can have a go. The white is opaque, they're like all whites. And the other little dragonflies down here. So if we can't lighten that up, the other thing we can do is we can darken the background. So let me take the black, midnight black. And we'll darken these cogs. The other way to do it is to scratch. Now I've got to be a bit careful because I've made a bit of a wedge on there because they're very soft, very, very soft. So you can get a real dark and make that dragonfly stand out. So that one is the palest, which means it's dark underneath. And then we can make that pop out a bit, and then we can do the same with the one up there. And you make those darks dark. Two seconds. Just a minute, guys. So you cut, as I say, I've got a bit of a crinkle at the back. So that's where we are so far. I kind of like it, but you can see I can even make some deeper, and then they really will go over the top of each other, and then out on top will be all the flowers, so they will sit out. But yeah, it's okay. I enjoyed it. I haven't played with a graphy tint for a while. So different from the others. So a little bit of a studio tour earlier of how it's working, and it's better than it was. Oh, excuse me. It's better than it was. The problem was the heat. So Darla's just said, how's it doing? Right, so very quickly, guys. And then what I'm going to do is stop this video and start again. Stop this live show. And I'm going to start again. And I'm going to work. I think I'll work at the Colin Thompson book. I think I'll have a go in there. I'll just have a bit of a think. But it's all dry, so I can shut that up. And sorry, guys, I've started coughing now. Oh, we've got the sunshine. So if I move this, I've got a desk, and I put cardboard up the top. Oh, sorry, guys. I've got a bit of space here for things I want to on a slope. So earlier I was going through all the Kerby books, they're all there. But the nicest thing is when I sit to do my paintings, when I sit to do my drawings, I started probably doing commissions for paintings now and drawings. I've got a nice surface to work from, and I've got the radio, and I've got the view outside, which isn't brilliant at the minute, but what I do is I move these across, but they stop the light because this is a conservatory. So as you can see, it's all cardboard to stop the light, because I've cut the room in half with the bully bookcases. Excuse me. I've got my brown drawers right next to me, and then my desk, the big desk, and I can, because it's cool here, I can have my oh gosh, excuse me guys, I can have my paints here, they don't get damaged. There is a large bookcase with glass shelves coming to go in this space here, and then all these bits and pieces will go away so they don't get dust. At the end, behind the painting, there is a large enlarger reducer for photographs, but it does it's show a picture of it, but it means that when I've got the pictures of the mushrooms, there are some that I like and some I don't. So this means instead of drawing them out, excuse me, I've stood up, so I start to cough when I've stood up. And we went all the way to the Cotswolds to pick it up. So that's what it is. Oops. That's at the other side. So that's what it is. So you stand and you put your drawing on the bottom there, and then you enlarge it and reduce it. Those big lights come on, and you put your head in there, put the cover over the back, and so it's all in darkness, and it becomes a light box as well, but it also reduces and enlarges. So that means I did this picture of Alfie a little bit too big. It means instead of drawing it again, I can just go over it. And I'm sure Amy will use it for hers as well. So if you do a kind of a large painting, you can reduce it to postcard if you want to write postcard and things. So, and then I've got my easel, and I'm using another one of the huge canvases I've got. I'm using it to block out the sun because this room is now quite cool. At the other side, I've got all the art books. I've got the dining table, and I've got a dining table, and there's the big chair that you can sit in and read the books. So it's a lot better. But yeah, I have to do that. I will eventually get something, but it means it's more of a studio and nobody else comes in here. Oops, I'm just going to shut that again. So the view outside is not, I just can't. It should move in theory. This moves, and on a dull day, I can see out. There's all the buddleias and all the buddleias, but it's become quite warm now. So I'm going to be doing the pond very soon. All this is going when I get the glass cabinets, so there'll be nothing on the window ledges, so that it's easy to dust because I have a problem with dust. But that's my wild garden in there. It's a bit of a mess. And it's a lot of a mess actually, but I kind of like it. So that's where we are so far, but of course when it's bright I have to shut everything out until I get some. I'm trying to make some money with these drawings so that I can get some Venetian blinds, vertical blinds, so that I can let the light in when it's dull, and then when it's sunny I can shut the light out, because you can't work in here when it's sunny for two reasons. One is the light's in the way, and the other it's just too hot. Has anybody got any questions? I'm going to finish this live show, and my daughter wants a word before they go away. But that's what we're working on today with the Graphy Tint pencils and the dough water brush, and it's a very easy way to work. I have to say, it's a very easy way to work. Just have to show out because it's a bit too warm. Thank you, King God. Thank you, Dala. So have a wonderful day. I shall be back in about half an hour, I think. Half an hour. They're just going to give me something to eat before they go because they're going soon. They're going to go see their grandma. But yeah, I love those, and they're very, very similar in texture and not in color, but in the easiness to use and the creaminess. They just melt like the Derwent watercolor pencils. And speaking of which, I also have my pastels right next to me as well. I've got my wildlife books, but it means that I can now get going with all sorts of different things for art in the Abbey. So I'll show this really quickly. Now I bought a new set of these Derwent watercolor pencils that I found for 20 odd pounds. I think it was 40 for 2 sets. But this is a pastel tin that I bought from a shop a few years ago now, and it didn't have anything in it, but I bought it empty. So what I've done is I put, now this is my vintage set, and that's why I said you can get 90 pencils in here. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. You can get another 18 in there. So I'm quite tempted to put my Graphy Tint in there with these. Now I took them out because the pastels were in here. Now the pastel pencils, the vintage set, were fatter and you couldn't get them out very well, but these come out quite easily. So I've gone back to having them in a wooden box because I will be using them here. I don't take them out. I don't go anywhere now so much, so they're back in their boxes. So I had kept all the original tins and the original boxes, and it's just something, there's just something nice about having these your pencils in a nice box. The problem was I couldn't get them in and out all the time, but because this is going to be staying on the desk, and once they're out I won't be fiddling about with them, then it's not too bad. Has anybody got any questions? So that's the end of part 1, or the end of the stream. Oops, for this Thursday. Put my paintbrush somewhere because it actually belongs inside the Derwent box, because then this is a complete set. Ah, there it is. I'll pop it back in there so I know where it is. And I do like that little set. That's very handy. So that's the end of the stream for now with the Derwent Graphy Tint 24 set in the Kerby Rosane, and I think this one is Phantomorphia. So thanks for watching, guys, and I shall be back on a new live stream in about half an hour. So that's probably about 3 o'clock UK time. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe if you've got any suggestions. If you don't like anything, please tell me why so that I can do something different. So thanks ever so much for watching, and if you do like it, please like and subscribe, and have a great day. Thanks for watching.